Good morning, folks, and welcome to another Tuesday morning here at Money Truth Moments. I am your host, Carlos Garcia, and we are with Judy Copenbarger. Good morning, Judy. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing great, Carlos. How are you?
Doing great. It's a beautiful sunny day. The temperatures are starting to rise, so it almost feels a little bit like summer, and it's just fantastic, right? Just a whole different vibe, that's for sure.
Spring has sprung. I love it.
That's awesome. Folks, thank you for joining us this morning. We are here every Tuesday morning at Money Truth Moments with Judy Copenbarger. If you're not following her, please do so at judycopenbarger.com. There is a wealth of information, and we'll talk a little bit more about the resources available on her website. This whole week, actually this whole month, we've been talking about teaching the entire family about money. So I'm hoping that you guys watching will share this out. Those of you guys that are watching the replay will also share this out. There's been great discussions on different topics, and I want to jump right into it. So are you ready, Judy?
I'm ready. Let's go.
All right. So the questions come up because of teaching the entire family about money. We've talked about different phases in our lives, right, for family. But one that we didn't really talk about is, should we be excluding preschoolers, right, in this conversation? How do we get them started, the little guys?
Oh, yeah. I love that question. And, you were talking about teaching the entire family. And it's not just the little ones. We've been working with my mother the last few weeks. She is hilarious and doesn't know it. She's 91, almost 92. And it just cracks me up. But sometimes financially, she gets herself in trouble. And it's not about the budget. She's always been great with money and always has saved her money and earned it well. She's still teaching piano, by the way, for like not even, she doesn't charge enough, but it's just her way of helping the world and makes a little cash. But what came up is she got in trouble online. There was a pop-up and it was a bad guy, but she didn't know it. And the pop-up was where they say, call me, and then they take control of your computer. And right. They go in, and I don't know what they get, but they're in her computer. You can see the mouse moving around. And we caught her, and my husband, gave her what for about that. But that's really putting her at risk financially and with her security, and who knows, passwords and bank information and all of that. So she got reprimanded for that. And it was our way of kind of helping her learn a little bit about money. So it's not just the little ones. Sometimes it's the other end of the spectrum, the other folks. So it kind of struck me when you said teaching the entire family.
That's a great point. Yeah.
We didn't all grow up with parents that mastered every aspect of their financial lives and passed that on to us. We didn't all have the advantage of college degrees and advanced degrees in finance and accounting and banking and mortgages. A lot of our experience comes from just hard knocks, from making the mistake or learning from someone else's mistake, which is really what my work is all about, helping people get it right and learning what not to do just as much as what to do. So back to your question, preschoolers, they should not be excluded. We should totally include them. It's like any part of life when we're working with our littles, when we're working with our grandkids or our children, the things that they learn early in life becomes just part of who they are. And that's both sides, good and bad, right? So if they learn negative ways of communication, or they learn addictive behavior, or they learn anger, or they learn that you got to hurt people to get ahead, that's how they're going to live it out.
Yeah.
But the other side is true. If we teach them good manners, we teach them how to be safe, we teach them how to manage their lives, manage themselves, communicate clearly, and help other people, have that compassion and that empathy bone, that's how they're going to live out their lives. They won't know any different. And so we can go beyond the character. We can go beyond the basics and the core values that we have that we pass along, because they get it from us. They get a lot from us when they're in the household. But we can teach them other things. So at our house, it was important to learn music and to be involved in sports and move our bodies and be part of a team and travel and make a difference out in the world, mission trips, things like that. And so they grew up thinking that's what everybody does. And it was kind of fun. It was kind of like watching popcorn. Each of them, as they got to about junior high, they discovered not everybody gets up at 5:30 to practice all their instruments in the morning before breakfast, and do their batting practice or kick not only with their right foot but with their left foot, the soccer ball, so they could score both ways. So not every kid did that, and they didn't know that until they were, they all figured it out like 12, 13, 14. It's like, hey, everybody else isn't doing that. But because it was how our culture was in our home, they got to do that. That became part of who they are. And they're all still athletic. They're all still using music in different ways to bless other people. And they're all really good with money, which is really my long way of getting to answer your question. When should we start working with children, and should we exclude preschoolers from that money coaching or that money teaching? And my answer is no, we should not exclude them. They learn fast and they learn early when we model properly and we help them learn. So what you see typically is a child during maybe preschool and grade school will get the education, typical education of save your money. You got $20 from grandma for Easter, for your birthday. Save your money. Put it in the piggy bank. Put it in, put it in, put it in. Save your money. Well, that doesn't teach you how to manage it later in life, right? Sure, saving is one little part, but isn't it more important, at least just important, but I would propose more important, to know how to take it out of the piggy bank, how to use it, how to apply money in your life, how to allocate it towards spending and saving and your future and your goals and helping other people. That's more important than just put it in your piggy bank. So most people, the education that they give their kids or that kids get by default is save, 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 which is one, you need to save, earn, spend, manage, give. There's all kinds of areas for finance, not just saving. So as preschoolers, as long as they're old enough to not swallow the pennies. So what is that, 2 or 3? It's safe for them to be with coins. They should be able to touch the coins. And we don't really have pennies around a whole lot more anymore, but there are nickels and dimes and quarters. Quarters is probably in US is probably a good place to start. So if they have quarters that they can stack and they could count. By the way, when you're working with children and money, that's part of math, you want to make sure that you're always counting forward as well as backwards. And that doesn't mean that you turn around backwards and say 5, 4, 3, Once I told this in a big group of young mothers, and I always like the feedback, tell me the stories, because I'll put them in the books and I'll put them in my videos and share with other women and other parents. And this one lady said that she went home and she told her son on the way home, and he was strapped in the car seat, probably a 3-year-old or so, maybe 4. And she said, okay, so I learned today we're going to count forward and backwards. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So he stood up in his car seat, turned around and said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Wow.
I did it backwards, Mama. So I thought that was a great story. And I promised her I would share it. And here I am 25 years later, still sharing it. But it really helps these littles later with math. If you count 1 duck, 2, 3, 4, 5 ducks, 4, 3, 2, 1, it helps them with subtraction and division later in life. So we can do that with the coins. They learn counting. They learn what is more and what is less. Then you throw them in the shopping cart and you go to the grocery store and you look at the prices per unit or prices per ounce. They always show you that now. And you can say, we could spend more on this or less on this. What's better? And they start to get the concept. Now, they might eventually kind of figure it out. Some never do. But if you tell them now, you know that they have the foundation. Well, Mama, it's better to spend less. I don't want to spend more. I want to spend less. Well, why? Well, if we spend less, then we have more later on to either buy something else or go to Chuck E. Cheese and have pizza. So it's better when you're spending to have less money go out of the household. Now, when you're earning money, do you want to earn more or do you want to earn less? See, so much is happening here. They're going to say more, and you can talk about that. But they're learning that I have a choice. I have a choice how much goes out. I have a choice how much comes in. And a lot of people, it's kind of subliminal, it's subconscious. They don't think about it, but they're limiting in their mindset. They limit themselves with this thinking that I can't get more. I'm in my job. This is what I get. I have to wait till I get to the top of the grid to get more money. And it's not true. The money in the world is not a finite object. There's always more. It's this ever expanding thing. People think I got to get a bigger piece of the pie because it's only one little pie. Never changes. It does change. It expands. So, and there's a whole economic philosophy underneath that, which is true. But it's not a finite thing. My point is, when you work with young children and they can get these concepts from you, your philosophies about money, the things that you've learned work about finances, the things that don't work because you've been there, talk to them about that. Involve them in decisions. Let them help you shop. Let them have their own money that they go spend. So imagine the power of learning when that piggy bank, and by the way, it all shouldn't be savings. When you put money in, they should be learning to allocate. There's money for right now, there's money for short term, and there's money for long term.
That's great.
And I believe every child should learn to, early in life, to put something good out into the world. So if you're a tither, that'll make sense to you. If you like to give or do charity or help other people, that'll make sense. But every time you get some money, I think a little bit ought to go outside of the household to bless someone else, help someone else. So whether you're, that's a faith base for you or it's not, the people that I know that have that generosity bone that help other people are the happiest people I know, even if it's a little bit. Right. So the child can learn to give a little bit off the top. And then if they have taxes due, pay the taxes, right? We get to do that. They don't necessarily, as a child, all have to do that. But now they have money for right now. They can spend it for whatever they want. They can buy a toy that's going to break next week or next hour. They can buy bubble gum, chew it all up, whatever. And if you expect they're going to buy something that maybe isn't what you would choose, I don't know, a donut or gumballs or some candy or something that they like, if you allow candy at your house. But if they're going to buy something that they're going to use up and it has sugar in it, just plan a park day right after that, let them run it off. But you want to, whatever your process is, you want to empower the child, young child even, with their own choice. If it's money they can spend on anything, let them. Don't make them save it until they're 45. Let them learn how to spend and practice spending. So that little part, maybe it's a third. Is for right now. A third is for a goal they have. So they're saving up for a Barbie doll or they're saving up for a new game, on their game station or something. Let them have that moment, that season where they're putting a quarter in, another quarter, maybe nowadays it's $1, another $1, and they see that money grow, 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 grow. And when they get to that amount where they can go get their goal, it's amazing how they will take care of what they earned and they spent money on. They're learning a lot here. They're learning savings. They're learning discipline. They're learning delayed gratification. They're learning money management. They're learning obedience. They're learning being true to themselves and having proper goals. There's a lot to the piggy bank, that we could do. And most people just say, put it in, right? And then the long-term goal, it's money for later. When you're ready to buy a car, when you're ready to buy a house, you're going to be the kid that has thousands of dollars ready to go instead of just, money in the bank or I blew it for whatever. So that's kind of my three-part system for money. And then that's all in Teen Cash. It's all in some of the videos that I've got out there. But again, long-winded answer, but I wanted to give some ideas to folks that have little kids, preschoolers in their life that have friends or family, or maybe they're a scout leader or a teacher or a Sunday school teacher, or they've got neighbor kids or their own children. And, there's always that influence, that ripple effect beyond your kids. They will work with their kids too. They'll teach others. But why not give them good, sound financial information and show them how to do it right from the start? Never too early to start.
That's very powerful. And as you were talking about this, I keep thinking even my own son, right? This would have been a great thing for him to start learning. It's never too late, like you've always mentioned as well too. But it's very powerful how you broke this down, because it does make a lot of sense. I mean, you think about a youth now not getting some of that support or that knowledge, right? Or as an adult, you don't really think about starting the little ones, with this type of thinking and way of doing things. But it's amazing. On a side note, a funny thing is, I remember you talking about piggy banks, and I don't know if you remember this or not, but the whole point of you having a piggy bank when it was full, you break it and everything spills out. Mm-hmm. But I remember we used to get these cool little piggy banks, but we used to just stick, get the money out from the little, the little top at the bottom with that little rubber thing down there. Yep. So we were getting, okay, I need a quarter for video games, so it's like, here we go. Yep. That just reminded me of that totally. Yep. Folks, thank you for joining us. We are talking about teaching the entire family about money. We just covered, whether we should be including our preschoolers or not. And if you missed it, you need to go back to the beginning and hear Judy's explanation. I think it's fantastic. Thank you for joining us. Make sure that if you're not following Judy, you're following her at judycopenbarger.com. She did mention some of the videos. There's a lot of information, a lot of resources on her website, and I want to make sure you guys get a chance to take a look at it. I'll talk a little bit more in detail about our website and our resources here shortly. But time flies when we're talking, so I want to make sure we don't run out of time. We talked about the little ones, so let's kick it into gear with when we're talking about children. Let's begin with allowances. At what point? How should we do it? When? How?
Allowance. Yeah, that's a big one for kids, because a lot of parents really want their kids to get it. They want them to learn what they didn't get to learn as a child, or maybe duplicate, what worked really well for them. And so allowance questions come up a lot for school age kids. How much should I give them? What should they be required to purchase with the money that they have? How do we do that? So I mentioned earlier a 3-part system, and I think that's a pretty good structure to start. Now you can make different allocations. Maybe it's 40, 20, 30, or, whatever your percentages is. But as a parent, whatever you set up, you need to be consistent. So if you don't have a plan and you don't know how to do something consistent, just put it in thirds. So let's say the child gets $10. $1 should go outside the household. So they have $1 they get to do something outside with. They can do something for their teacher. They can take it to church, put it in the offering. They can help somebody down the street. They can put it toward toys to put in one of those boxes that goes to the kids at Christmas time, operation, whatever that is. But there are things that they can do, but that $1 should come off the top, and it teaches them how not only they have enough, but they have enough to help other people. So now we have, if they gave away $1 from 10, $9 left. If you put $3 in money they can spend anytime they want, fun money, and then $3 for short term, that's the one that has that goal, the goal for a special game or a special car or toy or whatever it is. And then the last one is long term. That's the money that actually stays in the piggy. That's their real savings that they can go down to the bank and open an account and all of that, right? So you have a third, a third, a third. So now what can they do with each of those thirds? The first third, we mentioned with the little ones, they can do anything they want. So this is where mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, hands off. Don't encourage them. Don't entice them. Don't limit them. That part is for them to do anything they want with. After all, it's their money. So back off a little bit, give them some room, and help them make wise choices, but they've got to be their own choices. That second third is for that special toy. That's the delayed gratification one. And you encourage them. In fact, you could go to the toy store and visit it. We used to do this when our kids were little. We had 5 of them go through this. We'd go to the store and we go, man, you've got $4, you need 12. It's going to be great. You touch it, you look at it, you check the price again, and it's going to be great when we can come back and you have enough money for that. And then you leave the store without it. You don't pitch in the other $8 to buy it, right? They're not learning. So then you come back next week or a couple weeks later and go, wow, now you have $8. You only need 12. You're almost there. It's great. It's going to be wonderful one day when you can take that toy home. And then when they take their money to the store, they count out the money, they make the purchase. It's powerful. It's so empowering for them. And it gives them so much confidence and so much ownership in their life. And that spills over to other areas of life, not just financial stuff. So that's how that works. And then that final third obviously is long-term. That's the one where if they're at least 4 or 5, you take them to the bank and they meet the banker and they open their own account and they can sign, right? If they're big enough to write a couple letters of their name, they should sign to open their bank account. And then when the statement comes, it's got their name on it, joint account, right? Because they're minors, but it's got their name on it. It's their money for long term. And you can talk about, oh, you have $150. And then next year you have $160. You have more than you had before, right? So they're getting the concept. It's good for the money to grow. It's good for me to let it do that over there at the bank. So many things they can learn from this simple exercise. So back to your question that was really specifically about allowance. So how does the money get into this 3-part system? Where does it come from? Now, there's going to be gifts and there's going to be things they do around the house. But the big question I get a lot of times is, should I just give them a couple of dollars a week just because it's Friday? And the answer is you can do that. That would be like a typical allowance. Like we grew up I didn't, but my friends had allowances. And if you're going to take that method, and there's a line in this end, there's one or the other. It's either allowance or they earn it. It's either a gift or earning chores. If you're taking the allowance, a good rule of thumb is $1 per week per year old that they are. So a 4-year-old would get $4 a week. An 8-year-old would get $8 a week. And then birthday is great, right? You get a raise on your birthday. So that would be a way to do it. With that, they'll have enough money to be able to buy maybe their own, T-shirt with a print on it that they want, or a gift for their friend for their birthday, or Christmas gifts for mom and dad and their siblings, things like that. That'll be enough money to do some extra things like that. That won't be enough money if you have a teenager for them to have to buy like their own clothes for school. You would need to probably double that if you want them to have ownership in those kind of things, which is great also, by the way. So teenagers, they either want the $50 t-shirt or they're fine $2 t-shirts, right? And it's fine wherever they are, but you want them to understand the value and the actual cost of those things. And I've got 5 kids and they're all different. Some want to save up and have one nice thing, and some are fine with disposable clothing. It's like, I don't care. So, and they're all different, but give them the room to be themselves that way. They're not all going to be the same. Maybe your value is I only want quality or I only want quantity. And if they have a different value, don't crush it, right? You're going to be crushing their spirit. You're going to be crushing more than their budget. So let them make those choices and then they'll grow into that. One of our sons only wanted, the right stripe on his shirt, the right, little wing on his shoes. He wanted that. It was important to him at about age 12. And so we let him do that. By age 14, he's like, that's dumb. I'm going to Kohl's. Right? Nope. He realized how much effort it took to have the money to get that thing that really, why? Somebody might be impressed, but I'm not, so let them have those lessons early in life while the mistakes are small. So they don't have to have expensive, cumbersome mistakes when they're older. Like let them, because they're going to practice. They're going to go, oh, that wasn't good. I bought that toy. I bought that little balsa wood airplane and it lasted 10 minutes. And that was my whole week's goodies. I'm not going to do that again. Let them learn that. Or they might think it's great. I'll go get another one. But let them, you want to empower them that way. Okay, so back to allowance. So if you are doing the allowance, $1 a week per year old that they are, and then kind of gave you some guidelines on what they can afford to do with that. As soon as the money comes in, though, encourage them, get out their jars or their boxes or whatever they're putting their thirds in, and make sure that they don't touch. So maybe it's 3 boxes, different colors. One says fun money, one says short term, one says long term. And every time they get their $10, one goes away, and then 3, 3, and 3. And it's easier if you give them the cash when they're children, before they're maybe 15, 16. After that, everything's digital. But let them tangibly learn when they're little, so it means something. I know some adults that need to go back to touching the money too, because it flies away and they didn't even know. That was $4,000. Well, if they had to touch it and count out those hundreds or those 20s, it might not fly away so fast. So that's the allowance side. Now, the earning chores is what worked really well at our house. And I've had a lot of families say when they converted or when they employed this, it worked a little bit better for them. That's where money doesn't just show up every week because it's Friday or Saturday. By the way, if you do it that way and there's an understanding they're going to get paid on Friday or Saturday, it can't be Sunday and it can't be I'll catch you next week. You need to be consistent. That's really important about parenting and trust and a lot of other things. Okay, expectations. So this is earning chores. So this is where you would say, just because it's Friday or Saturday, you don't get paid. You have to do something. You have to earn something. And if you've been following us, I've shared specifically about this before. But that means that if a 2 or 3-year-old can unload the dishwasher or set the table or stack the shoes by the on the porch where you take your shoes off, or sweep the patio, or pick up some weeds, or help you out in the yard, a little kid can do that. And you say, okay, we're going to go, before you do the work, we're going to go do this work, and this is $2 of work, or it's $10 of work. And so if they complete the work, they get the money. If they don't complete the work, you could pay them maybe for part of it, but you need to set the expectation. And again, this is where your leadership as a parent or grandma or grandpa come in. You can't tell them, we're going to rake up all these leaves, put them in the bags, put them in the trash can, and they only do 3 of the 6, and you give them all the money. Can't do that. Well, we had 6 bags worth. We did 3. Here's half of the money. But you said I got so much money. Well, you did half the work. You got half the money. Look at all the lessons in that. You got to provide value. You've got to provide your time or keep your word to get compensated. That's how life works. It's not because it's Saturday I get to, go buy a toy, right? So think of all the opportunities we have when we have these children in our lives that we get to mentor and coach and help. So that's earning chores. If they're bigger, they can do bigger things. There's a lot that our kids were able to do. We've got businesses, and so there were a lot of jobs that somebody would have done anyway. We would have paid. And so our children got the rate we would have paid someone else, whether it was a housekeeper or a yard worker or an office worker. They got paid what it would have cost us outside. So they made good money when they really wanted to work when they were coming up. And they've all been pretty fiscally responsible, actually very, very responsible. So those are a couple of things. So line down the middle of the world, pick which one you're going to do. Whatever you pick, be consistent. It's either an allowance or it's earning chores. There you go.
Excellent. Great. Folks, if you're just joining us, I know it's always fun talking to Judy. There's so much information and a lot of great things to walk away from. You guys have to share this video with family members, with parents, so we make sure that we get our kids on the right track. And I'm kind of rushing through this because I don't want to run out of time for our favorite part of the show. Tell us about this week's challenge.
Woo-hoo! This week's challenge. Okay. It is Easter season. It's springtime. And in spring, we have a lot of newness. We have a lot of new things coming our way. The flowers are blooming and the birds are chirping and all that stuff. So when new things come in, we need to get out the old. All right. We got to make space, make room. So what I'd like to challenge you to do is find a way to make room. Some people do this with a spiritual fast. They'll fast something, like give up something for Lent. Catholics do that about this time of year. And other faith-based people do that too. So if you think about something that is not serving you well in your life, if it's a behavior, if it's a habit, if it's people, if it's relatives, you got to keep them, right? But if there are relationships that are not serving you well, or an environment that's not serving you well, give it up. Make space, make room. You think about a young man or a young woman living in their apartment and they want to find a spouse. Well, if they're parking in the middle of the driveway and if they have all their clothes filling in the closet, where's room? Where's space? Is there space in your calendar to meet the right person and develop a relationship? You've got to have space, whether it's a relationship, financially, whatever it is. So maybe you have a job that you shouldn't, or you're in a business that you shouldn't be in. So number one, with pen and paper, what can you give up? What can you rid out of your life to make space for something new? The second thing is, how will it impact my life when that's gone? When the relationship is gone, when the environment is gone, when the choices that I'm making with my behaviors or addictive behaviors even are gone. So what can I get rid of? How will it impact me? And what steps do I need to take to get started right now? That's your challenge.
Well, you heard it, folks. If you're not following Judy, you guys need to at judycopenbarger.com. We ran out of time, to talk to you guys a little bit about the resources, but please visit her. Oh, sorry about that.
He doesn't want you to not mention the resources.
He says, are we done yet? All right. But there is a wealth of information, folks. There's a lot of great resources, videos available at judycopenbarger.com. There's also Money, Truth, and Life, which is her #1 best-selling book. So you guys need to check that out as well, too. We're going to talk a little bit more about those resources on the next show. But as always, Judy, thank you for your time today. Any last party words?
Yeah, we were talking about young families and how to work with little kids. I think the promises that come when you do that, when you have family harmony, is there's this calm, like serenity and peace and freedom that comes from that. It's about achieving goals. It's about that connection, and working with your kids on anything, including finances, can be such a connecting, wonderful bonding thing. So I encourage you to find some kids if you don't have your own and make a difference with some of these concepts you've learned today. And have a great week.
Awesome. Thanks again, Judy. Folks, tune in next Tuesday, 8 a.m. We're here every Tuesday morning for Money Truth Moments. And this has been a Money Truth Moment with Judy. Until next week. See you guys.